you once, and I'll tell you twice. The way I feel, here's my advice. I told you once, and I'll tell you twice. The way I feel, here's my advice.
Hi, and welcome to episode 8 of Shakedown. This is your boy Theo here, coming up with your usual positivity. But this episode, I'm going to be talking about something very, very deep. I'm so sorry that I've got this episode to be this long to be made, because work kind of got in the way, to be honest. And it's never easy when you're having to juggle things in life. I've had to do so over the course of the last 10 years or so. It's never easy, but you have to make do with what you got, and you have to kind of ride the wave, as it were. So, but nevertheless, I am here, and we're going to get right down to it. So, this episode, we're going to be talking about depression. Depression is one of those topics what men don't talk about, or it's one of those things that men don't really think about, or anything else like that, because when we're men, we tend to go through stressful emotions, and we just continue to plow on and everything. But what if you're one of those guys that hasn't been able to plow on, that hasn't been able to do things? It can affect everybody, not just men, but it can affect everybody. So we're going to talk about it in a little bit of a detail here. So we're going to start off with the meaning of depression. And the meaning is feelings of severe despondency and dejection. And the other meaning is a mental condition characterized by feelings of severe despondency and dejection, typically also with feelings of inadequacy and guilt, often accompanied by lack of energy and disturbance of appetite and sleep. Now, when we kind of think about all of this stuff about depression, what we tend to think about it is that a lot of us think about it, you're just having a bad day, or you're having a tough time, and you're not being able to deal with what's been going on with you. But some people have bad days, me included, but I tend to kind of wanted to get home, and then I just kind of watch TV or something to just get my mind off work, because I have to return back to work. But that's just me. I can't speak for everybody else, because you may have things going on and it might not be great, and you just want to come home and just kind of do stuff to relax, and having to deal with what's going on and go back into it next day and just say, we go again. But, and also some people would kind of think to yourself that, you're having a melodramatic moment, but really, people just view it in that way. But some people need to kind of take the minute just to kind of say, are they really okay? Are they really okay? It just doesn't help when they say all those sorts of things, And I think also in society, we view depression as like, oh, just, get back on the horse and just do what you think. It's not so simple to some people. It's not so simple. So I think that some people think that it's just about attention, and some people don't even think about the emotion that involves around people. It just says like you just need to go and get laid, or you need to go and have a drink, or anything else like that. But it doesn't help. It doesn't truly help until you actually talk to somebody about this. And I think that's what we need to start doing, really. People think that it's all frowned upon. People just said to me that people just think that you need to just smile, be happy. People actually take medication from this, so it's all those sort of things, and people just think it's just some sort of taboo when it's physically ill when everything else, but it's not like that. It's not like that. You like, people need to be understanding that there's people out there that has a similar thing what they're going through, And I'm gonna break it down. To be fair, I'm gonna be talking about what push us to the breaking point. So really, how we kind of view depression and how we kind of trigger it, is, for some people, it's an upsetting, but also a stressful life event. So you got stressful events. It could be a relationship breaking down. It could be a bereavement. I myself have gone through deaths within my family. I've lost my grandparents on my mother's side in 2016. Yeah, in 2016. They it's been a couple of years, but yes, they both died 6 months apart. And they were out there in Jamaica, and I kind of felt a wave of sadness. I got down about it because these were two strong people that made the case to come over here in Jamaica, settled, and then my family kind of developed and everything. A year later, my grandmother on my dad's side died. And these are key people within my family. You know, they can never ever be replaced. And I kind of felt that it was such a strange thing to be dealing with. And it's a strange thing to deal with. It's never an easy thing to deal with. But, like, I do miss them every day. You know, I had, like, a part of them, just, like, a part of them, but a part of me has died along with them. It's that sad, you know. I think so. Some people kind of deal with that part worse more so than others, because there's been cases of this. You got Lincoln Park member Chester Bennington. He died of suicide, and he had depression, mental problems, but he had depression, and he died. He sadly died, and we all couldn't make sense of it. It was then that we have to kind of realize how the serious nature of depression, how it all kind of triggers, and how it all factors into this thing. We learned recently that Avicii, a DJ in Europe, top DJ in Europe, he died of suicide as well, and he had a series of mental health issues, and his family came out recently and said that he passed away of suicide. Now, we got high profile people over the years that died, and I don't have time to go through every single one of them, but when you're at the top, it's the fame, dealing with that fame, and it's never easy. It's never easy to deal with the fame. It's never easy to think that you got your own life to deal with, but even when you go out in the street, you got people wanting your attention, wanting your time, and everything else. And some people don't set out to be famous. Some people just don't want the fame. Some people just think that, yeah, like, what we're doing is what we're doing, and everything else. And I kind of want to have our own private life, which they are entitled to do. But it's just never easy. It's never easy. But that's the part of depression. Also, it could be personality. Now, you got low self-esteem, and you got overly critical about yourself. It might be the genes that you probably have from your parents, or your early life experiences. Some people have issues with their weight. We know that we have an obesity problem, and some guys don't actually think about all of this sort of thing, because, like, it's to do with their personality and everything else, like how they kind of give off. trying to make friendships and relationships and everything else, and then they suddenly feel that they don't feel that they belong in a certain place and everything else, feel that they are ignored or they are being put to one side, and it's never really the case. It shouldn't be the case at all. It should never ever be. Your personality, your personality is the whole beacon of yourself. It's the whole advertisement board, if you want to call it that way. But it's how people are naturally attracted to you is because of your personality. It ain't just your looks, but it's your personality. But some people can feel a bit the self-esteem, and people having feel overly critical about themselves because they don't look good. They don't feel that they look good. They don't feel that they can attract the right people and everything else. And some people have trouble talking to people. It's all them sort of things, really. But with personality, you never want to think that it's never a trigger to. You don't want to think that it's a trigger to your to depression, but it is, and I think that's what it is. There's a family history. Well, I'm pretty lucky that I've come from a good family. It's great that I've come from a great family full of support and everything else. Even though that I've got my mom's side and I've got my dad's side, they are still family. It's still family, even though my parents were never married. They were still, they were still family and everything else. That's what we have to kind of come to assume and everything. But it's likely you have a family history. You got somebody that actually sees a certain thing, and it's crazy. So is how or the big thing about depression is loneliness, being cut off from your friends and family, or or having to be without no friends, no family because of bereavement. And I've seen people who are lonely. I've seen people who kind of having to do the things themselves, and it's so hard for them to go out there and make new friends, meet new people and everything because of that loneliness. That loneliness kind of becomes a part of them and everything else. And in this world, we shouldn't made to be feel alone. And I think we as men, we need to kind of understand that. Also, alcohol and drugs turn into those sorts of things. Now, I'm not saying that we can't have alcohol, but I will say one thing about drugs. People think that, it's about calming them down and everything else and whatever, and you kind of think you can't live without it and everything else. I'm not here to be overly critical of people who have that sort of lifestyle within them. I'm just simply saying that they use it to try and cope when it's not supposed to cope. It makes things just worse, and it shouldn't be recommended that you should be drinking and taking drugs and everything, because it makes things worse, and it won't work. It won't work with your mindset, where you're going. You can lose jobs, and you can lose relationships, all those sorts of things. If you are, there's another thing that triggers it, and that's illness as well. Some people have illnesses, and they can't think that they can get over that. And I think that sometimes it's kind of hard to kind of think to yourself, you got this life-changing injury or this condition, and it does get you down because you can't be able to do certain things that you want to do, like running, like walking, things like that. It's never a nice thing to deal with, having to deal with an illness and to let that be a part of you, and also having to go through life having that, and knowing that your life is going to be different in every which way possible, because you like one moment you were a fit person, and then after that it kind of changes because of this illness that you might have. So it's another thing that does trigger. It does trigger that as well. So it's all the sorts of things with depression. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna talk about how can one start being depressed. I wrote this question down because I was trying to think about how I was gonna say it and how I was gonna come across with this question. How's best to answer it? You just simply can't stop being depressed. It's never gonna happen overnight. It's never gonna change anything overnight. Never. So why would we actually think that can be stopped? It can't be stopped. It can't be stopped. You know, because we all live lives and we all have downsides to life. Obviously, the measure of who you are is to kind of get up and fight. But a lot of people just don't want to end up fighting. They don't want to fight. They don't want to go through what they're going through because it's just too painful. The thought about something that is so real to them, that's so emotional to them, it just changes everything about themselves completely. So you cannot stop it, you know. And once you get into there, it can be, you can get over it. You can help somebody get over it. Obviously, it's a mindset. Maybe it's a physical one as well. But really and truly, it is a mindset, and we have to kind of think to yourself like we can't stop ourselves from being depressed, because anything can actually happen in your life. Anything that would actually anything bad that can trigger that, and there's going to be a point where you just don't know if you're going to keep carrying on, if you could carry on. So yeah, it can't be stopped. It just cannot be stopped. I think that it's just not easy when you're having to deal with depression. Like I said, high-profile people can mask it. I mean, look at Dwayne Johnson, for example. The Rock, to you and me. He talked about depression. He went through depression. He went through the kind of depression that, you know, it's kind of gets real, even when you sit down with him to talk about it. And he said that his mother was going through a rough time herself, and it's never easy to kind of easy to deal with what she's dealing with. So one point she kind of got herself into a car, and she was going to be on the freeway, America's answer to our motorway, and she was going to walk right in front of traffic. The Rock actually took her away from that, as she was supposed to do that, and they sat down there and they held each other for a while. And it's kind of truly remarkable, because you don't think to yourself that this big dude, this big Hollywood actor / wrestler, would have that sort of impact in his life, to have depression. But it can happen to completely anybody, and it really can. It's never something that you never get over. And it's not overnight anyway. You can't. You do need good people, support. It can make you feel just differently about yourself, and it can make you feel alone. And people sometimes can mask it. I read a story on a website the other day about this, and I read that somebody had to mask it. Because you think that like somebody can actually go into work setting, have a big smile on your face, but inside what you're dealing with is an unimaginable pain emotionally, you know. So it's not something that you kind of it's something that you can mask, it can be hide and everything else, but some people might not notice, some people could notice. You know, even if you don't believe in positive things, even if you think to yourself how when someone tells you that you are beautiful, you are great, you are somebody that's special, because each and every one of us is. But when somebody is in depression and you don't feel like that, you gotta continue to encourage them. You gotta continue to kind of say to them that, you know, your best life is living, and your best you need to kind of get yourself onto a path that leaves you enlightened. So I think that that needs to happen. The support. Now, how do you get some support? Who do you talk to? Well, you can talk to your doctor. You can talk to your partner. You can talk to a close friend. You can talk to anybody that can do that, that can help you. You know, because sometimes we all need each other. Sometimes we need each other. You know, sometimes we have to kind of think to ourselves of this person, because you might not be able to be yourself going through what you're going through depression wise, but you still have somebody down there. And even if you don't have anybody, there's a load of places you can go to. You can go to outreach places. You can even log on to the internet. That's what it's there for. Log on to the internet and try and get on a website that can actually have like-minded people talking about depression. You know, maybe it's best to kind of go into a support group. You know, there's other ways that you can actually deal with it. You know, and I believe that some people that's listening to this now and is going through depression, just please understand that, you know, there are people out there that will help you, but you are not alone. That's the one thing I'll say. You are not alone. There's people out there that can talk to you. There's people out there that can actually resonate where you're coming from, because they're going through it themselves. So there's people out there that you could talk to. So yeah, I just wanted to put it out there to just talk about this real deep issue. A real deep issue because, you know, we're all living in a fast-paced world now. We have demand on what we're looking for in life now. We also, and culminating all of that, you kind of have to understand to yourself, right? Could you actually get yourself over this so you can get back to where you were? You know, could you do it? I think you could. I think that whoever's listening out there, you have a lot to offer. You're special, just like me. And I hope that one day, that if you even stop me on the street and you listen to this and you told me that of all of this stuff that I said in this podcast and in previous episodes as well, you know I done my job right, because it only takes one person. So I'm not gonna give an extraordinary person of the week award for this episode, because again, I don't have one, and two, this topic is that real. I wanted to kind of say something that would actually engage people about it, and hopefully this could generate some sort of debate with people. So I hope that would be the case. So in the meantime, I'll catch you guys on the next podcast. Be safe and peace out.
I told you once, and I'll tell you twice. The way I feel, here's my advice. I told you once, and I'll tell you twice.